2ST Good Times, great music. It is the three-way turf talk. John Hanscom of the South Coast Register, 2ST's Graham French. I'm Adam Straney, and this week we heard the big announcement from the Prime Minister. We're going to the polls September 14.
Neil, were you surprised when the PM said 8 months out we're going to an election?
Look, I was as surprised as anybody. I think the length of time is not too much of an issue. With local governments, we all know the predictability of when they're coming around the elections, similarly with state governments. And now we have a decent amount of time for federal elections and people can make arrangements. So while it was a surprise that the announcement was made, the duration doesn't worry me one bit.
When I caught up with you both yesterday at Kiama, I spoke to Anne as well, and I said, Anne, what do you think about this? And she said, yeah, I think it's a reasonable idea to be this far out. Don't have a great issue with it. It surprised me first up that you two candidates who tend to agree on something. Is that going to set the trend for the rest of the campaign?
No, it's probably the only time.
What do you think of the 8-month run?
The 8-month run, it's a consolidation period for people to learn about the candidates, to evaluate the policies and actually get familiar with how to vote. I was speaking to a 19-year-old yesterday and I said, what are the issues for you? And she said, I just find the whole process intimidating. So I think that should be part of the process in this 8 months, is introducing young people to the process.
Can I get a guarantee off both of you about one thing?
Oh.
This campaign will be about policies, perhaps politics, but not personalities?
I think that's pretty fair. I don't see any great issues with that. There'll be times when Anne and I will disagree, as she indicated, probably on the vast majority of things. But one thing I think we both agree on is that it's a good thing to have a go for the community. We're both there probably for our own parties. And if there is to be any sniping, I think it would be probably at the party rather than the person.
I have been a candidate before and I've never attacked the person. It's not part of my nature and I refuse to get embroiled in that sort of activity.
16 years, Gilmore's been a Liberal electorate, high unemployment, lots of social problems. What are you, each of you, what are you going to do to turn that around?
I understand the difficulties of the high unemployment. I'm a small business person and have been in the area for a long time. I deal with a lot of the small businesses here. I understand the pressures that they're under and I understand the pain that they're going through. I also understand the need to make a profit. And I'd like to suggest an idea, and that might be in the first year of employment, we might forgive the superannuation levy. If someone was to employ someone for the first time, they'd forgive that superannuation levy. This would allow employers the latitude to be able to put on the people they need to make their business prosperous. Now, this isn't anybody's policy but my own, but it's the sort of thing that I'll be taking to Canberra if I'm elected as the member.
The unemployment rate here is 10%. That is totally unacceptable by any stretch of the imagination. How can the coalition bring that back a bit?
I would like to just revisit some of those ideas, and that is to waiver the superannuation levy for the first year of employment, according to whom that's very unfair to the employee. And if the government is going to be the pick-up party, that's not very realistic when they've already stopped the rebate for salary sacrifice for superannuation contributions. So the solution is to help take the red tape away from business. There's only been 58 repealed pieces of legislation in the last 5 years for small business growth. That's hardly what you would be encouraging small business, and that's what we need to be. Reduce their costs of getting their business going, actually give them incentives to employ people as they're doing with apprentices. There's already money there. If you take on an apprentice, the workers' compensation is already covered by the government. So these policies are going. What you need to do is help with the infrastructure so you can get your freight in and out of the area and give employment incentives rather than having huge costs of production.
The Prime Minister said some years ago she wouldn't introduce a carbon tax. Here we have a carbon tax.
First of all, it's not a carbon tax.
Well,
it's
a tax.
It's
another damn tax.
No, it's not. It is a price that people pay for the privilege, I guess, of polluting the atmosphere. Now, if people dump garbage out the front of their house, they're fine, because we don't like people who mess up our neighbourhoods. Similarly, we don't like people who mess up our planet, and this has proved to be an effective means that has reduced the level of carbon in the atmosphere in a measurable degree. It has also had hardly any effect on the normal everyday person. The polluters who pump the carbon dioxide in the atmosphere are paying and paying dearly.
Yeah, but it still comes back into our pocket, doesn't it?
It is reimbursed into
For some
carbon
people.
offsets. We have an obligation to make this planet as clean and livable as we can. Not necessarily for ourselves selfishly, but for the generations to come.
The government's own modelling have proven that in the first year their carbon is actually going to increase, and that's exactly what's happened. They've actually compensated the businesses who were going to have to pay the greatest amount of carbon tax levy. It's not the big companies and the polluters who had to pay this. They've actually been subsidised to stay in business. They have paid for the privilege to continue doing what they've always done. It's the everyday person who's had to actually bear the brunt of this, and it's not working. It hasn't made a difference to our planet. Of course we all want to take care of our planet. This is not the way to do it. This is a totally erroneous way of looking at the situation.
If the feds were prepared to come to the table for the Princes Highway, where should the money be spent?
The most important thing is the bridge. It's a choke point. Our economic growth and our future tourism potential, that is a choke point for us. And I think everybody's aware of that. That is our main project.
Neil, have you put party leaders on notice that the Princes Highway needs federal funding?
I've put party leaders on notice on 2 occasions, and I've studied the situation at length. I know that the Princes Highway, in the federal terms, whether it's a Labor government or a Liberal government, is not a highway of national significance.
Did you read their body language? Did you look at their eyes when you raised the matter? What was their reaction?
Their eyes were dead on mine when they said that the Princes Highway is not a road of national significance. However, my contention is different. We have a significant military infrastructure in this area, and I believe that alone is significant, and that makes that road significant. I don't think anybody has ever approached it from that point of view before, and that's how I think I will achieve better funds for the Princes Highway, by using it as a strategic road.
I appreciate both of your time this morning, Anne Sudmalis from the Liberal Party and also from the Labor Party, Neil Reilly. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Adam.
Good luck for what will probably be one of your longest campaigns that you'll both ever take part in.
I want one more guarantee from both of you. You'll come back again.
Absolutely.
And we'll do it for now this time.
I love it when Frenchie gives an invite to people, and I can guarantee the boss's hair has just gone slightly greyer this morning. Look, we've got the news to get to at 10 o'clock. Barry Mack's going to be in shortly. Thanks to John Hanscom again today. Frenchie, we'll do it all again next Friday. Guys, have a great weekend.
Thanks, mate.
Enjoy. All the latest in our 10 o'clock national news is on the way next at 2ST.